This is Woodman here with Parthogenesis Love, and I'm bringing you a video today on the importance of life force and keeping it protected. First, let's understand life force. Life force, often referred to as prana, chi, or ki, is considered by many to be a spiritual and metaphysical, traditionally vital energy that describes the essence of things. It goes throughout the body, it permeates every cell, every organ. It has to do also with the person's emotional and spiritual well being. Cultures around the world describe this vital force as being connected to all living beings and that its depletion can lead to illness, weakness, or even death. In the realm of mythology and folklore, vampires are often depicted as creatures that feed off the life force of others, whether through blood or direct energy absorption, in order to sustain their own life force and power. Vampires have been present in cultures worldwide with varying interpretations and methods of energy draining, but all of them revolve around the concept of siphoning vitality from another living being. So let's talk about the history of this practice and any mythology on it. The idea of creatures or entities that drain life force is ancient, appearing in many different cultures and spiritual beliefs. Some of the earliest vampire myths come from Eastern European folklore, particularly from Slavic and Romanian traditions. However, the practice of life force draining or energy harvesting is found in many myths across many civilizations. For example, in ancient Egypt, the concept of life force in ancient Egypt was embodied in the idea of Ka and Ba, which were vital spiritual energies that were believed to sustain both the living and the dead. Egyptian deities, as well as spirits, could drain or manipulate life force, sometimes to maintain their own power. The concept of spiritual draining or siphoning is also reflected in some of their darker rituals. In Greek and Roman mythology, we have in ancient Greece and ancient Rome creatures like the empusa or the lamia, which were believed to feed on the blood and life essence of young men, usually through sexual activity in a manner similar to the modern vampire archetype. The myth of the succubus, a demon or spirit that drains life force through sexual intercourse, also originates here, highlighting the connection between sexual energy and life force. In Eastern traditions, in China, qi or qi is the energy that flows through all living things, and certain beings, including the Jiangshi, the hopping vampire, were believed to drain this vital energy from others. The concept of yin and yang also reflects the balance of life force within the body, where an imbalance or depletion of energy could also likewise lead to illness or death. In Slavic and Eastern European folklore, the most familiar European vampire myths, particularly those from Romania and the Balkans, describe vampires as the reanimated corpses of the dead, who drain blood in order to sustain themselves. However, many vampire myths also involve the draining of life force through a psychic or energetic means. These vampires were often associated with disease, decay, and an unhealthy siphoning of vitality from the life force of the living. So, what are some of the methods of draining life force? We have blood versus energy here. While modern interpretations of vampires often focus on the blood drinking as the primary method of life force extraction, traditional vampires and other entities were also said to drain energy in less physical ways. The methods of draining life force could vary depending on the cultural context. Thus, we're looking at blood draining first. In Western folklore, vampires are often depicted as creatures that suck blood from their victims, a practice that's believed to drain the vital life essence or blood force from the body. Blood is traditionally considered the carrier of life force, and by drinking it, vampires are thought to rejuvenate themselves, gaining strength, immortality, or vitality from the victim. But also keep in mind in stories and movies portraying this that it's often more romantic to have a vampire bite that sucks blood. Now, in psychic vampirism or energy vampirism, psychic vampires are entities that feed off life force or the energy of others without necessarily needing to consume blood. This is a common motif in modern occult practices where certain individuals believe they can drain others' energy by simply being in close proximity or engaging in certain behaviors. Methods of psychic energy draining could include emotional manipulation. Vampires might cause emotional distress, sadness, depression, or anger to others to siphon off the energy. Astral projection or dream invasion. Some traditions suggest that vampires leave their physical bodies, entering the astral plane or dreams of the others to drain energy. Sexual energy. As with the incubus and succubus myth, vampires often drain force through sexual encounters, either consensually or coercive in a way that is metaphorically tied to energy transference. Breath and aura. In some traditions, the act of draining a person's breath or aura is also considered a method of life force extraction. Energy vampires in certain spiritual practices are believed to feed off the subtle energy or aura that surrounds living beings, sometimes referred to as prana or aura siphoning. What are the cultural viewpoints that exist as to the practice of life force draining? Well, we have the concept of life force draining, which has been viewed in various ways across cultures, often with strong moral and spiritual implications. In Western culture, vampires that come from folklore and literature, we have these traditions, particularly in the context of vampiric literature. Dracula, Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles. Life force draining is often associated with corruption, immortality, and the loss of humanity. Vampires are typically seen as parasitic creatures that, through their draining of life force, prevent others from living full, healthy lives. The concept of draining energy is deeply tied to themes of exploitation, dominance, and fear of losing personal vitality or autonomy. In occult and New Age practices, these circles have a concept of life force that's often seen in a more neutral or possibly even positive light. Psychic vampirism is often framed as a natural exchange of energy that occurs when individuals or entities unconsciously siphon off another's energy. In such contexts, the life force draining is not necessarily seen as malevolent, but as an unbalanced or unconscious practice that can be corrected through spiritual protection or energy healing. In Eastern and indigenous cultures that take viewpoints on this, we have like Taoism, right, which is an Eastern philosophy, and Hinduism, in which life force, chi or prana, is viewed as essential and sacred energy that should be cultivated, protected, and balanced. Practices like qigong, yoga, and tai chi are designed to cultivate, harmonize, and protect life force. In this sense, energy vampires are seen as individuals who are spiritually unbalanced, and the act of draining energy is a sign of spiritual weakness or possibly even malevolence. Now, in modern occultism, in contemporary practices, especially among those who follow energy based systems like Reiki, Wicca, or other magical traditions, life force draining can be seen as a form of manipulation or spiritual imbalance. Some believe that individuals who engage in energy vampirism are often struggling with their own lack of vitality or spiritual empowerment, leading them to leech energy from others in order to fill their own energetic voids. Now, what are some protective measures that can be taken against life force draining? Across various cultures and belief systems, there are numerous ways to protect oneself from the draining of life force. These methods often include prayer, focusing on strengthening the individual's aura, cultivating positive energy, and creating spiritual or physical barriers. In terms of spiritual cleansing, we use prayer, we use smudging with sage, we use incense, we use salt baths, we use energy healing practices like Reiki, and these are used to cleanse one's aura of negative influences and remove any psychic activity and attachments. Also, additionally, prayer can help one to attain energy shields. Many spiritual practices teach individuals to visualize or create protective shields around themselves, often made of light or other protective elements to prevent psychic or energetic intrusion. Also, grounding is a very popular technique. Techniques like walking barefoot on the earth, meditating, or engaging in physical exercise can help individuals ground themselves and prevent energy vampires from draining their life force altogether. Boundaries and self care. In both physical and psychic forms, strong personal boundaries are essential to prevent any type of energy draining, whether from individuals or entities. Let's go ahead and conclude. Vampires are often used as metaphors for energy and power draining. The archetype of the vampire, whether blood draining or energy draining, speaks to deep seated human fears around vulnerability, exploitation, and the loss of vitality. Life force as a concept is not only about physical energy, but is also a metaphor for personal autonomy, spiritual power, and emotional well being. Vampires, both mythical and psychological, represent the forces that seek to take away this vital energy, whether through physical means or more subtle manipulations. Understanding life force and its protection allows us to reclaim control over our power, over our energy, ensuring that we use it for our purposes for growth, healing, and empowerment rather than being siphoned by parasitic forces that are trying to use it for nefarious purposes. Once again, your relationship with the divine is key and crucial here. And so, for me personally, I would say my prayers to the Most High God through the Son Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit of the universe, because maintaining that relationship allows one to draw closer to God and to have the ability to have God's angels, God's servants, spirit guides, ascended masters, those that are sent to help you to, in other words, to form a shield of defense around you, because there are these forces that are working in your favor so long as you do the things you're supposed to do. Now, also keep in mind that your emotional state is key or crucial here, right? Because again, those who are seeking to drain your energy are trying to draw out emotions. So emotional regulation is actually key here. If you actually can focus on meditation, you can focus on certain practices that can calm you down, calm your breathing, calm your mindset, your mental state, then this is how you can win the game by strengthening yourself through your connection to God and also keeping your emotions very sort of neutral, right? In other words, you don't want to be sad, you don't want to be mad. Anger is a good way for individuals to drain you as they draw out this emotion in you, and in drawing out this emotion in you, they are taking from you. They are robbing you. They're robbing you of your happiness. They're robbing you of your peace of mind, your serenity. And so you always want to do that to stop the energy draining, because if you can forgive, if you can let go, if you can surrender your troubles, then you will find that you are not being able to be thrown off balance by these energy vampires or psychic vampires that want to see you in a terrible state. Because, and I'll give you a true story, and it's a sad story, but I had a brother who once lost his daughter. Unfortunately, he lost his daughter to a senseless act of domestic violence. The my niece's mother, right, tried very hard to get her away from a particular guy who was really just he was a scumbag, and she just was, I guess, so emotionally damaged that she couldn't get away from this relationship, and so in this sense, sometimes I call domestic violence domestic terrorism, because these domestic batterers, these individuals who seek power and control, they are using that power control as a form of compensating for their own insecurities, and they target those who they deem as weak or inferior to them. And so, as a result, they are able to manipulate people who maybe don't have a strong sense of self. And so, inevitably, while her mother tried so very hard to save her life, calling the police, even on many occasions, unfortunately, the police were actually sending the mother away, because the police indicated that the my niece refused to see her mother, and that deemed that if her mother was to stay there, that it would be violating the rights of her and her partner, and that she would want them to arrest her for trespassing. And so this is really a sad, sad story, because her mother knew that her daughter was in danger and wanted to do so much more, but the police failed again and again here by not recognizing the danger, by just simply indicating that, hey, she doesn't want you here. She says she's fine. I don't see any bruises. It doesn't seem to be hurting her in any way. So you need to leave. And this is basically a false 911 call that you're making, because this girl appears to be in no harm or danger. But subsequently, a few months later, it hit the newspapers that she had been killed. Initially, the police were thinking it was some sort of an accident, but it was no accident. Eventually, the kids, after they went to the children's center and dealt with some psychologists and team members who understood how to get information out of the kids, got the kids to reveal that, in fact, her partner had taken a 2x4 piece of wood and hit her upside the head with it, and hit her so hard that he killed her. And so this is very sad for me as well, because, like I said, this was my niece who was killed in this way, and my brother was traumatized, so traumatized that he holed himself up in his apartment. He appeared to lose any interest in life whatsoever. And within 3 months of her death, he died as well of a broken heart. So please, please, whatever you do, if you reach a dark place, there's help out there. Obviously, you reach a point of wanting to commit suicide, there are suicide prevention hotlines. There are therapists and counselors who are willing to work with you and talk with you and help get you back to a better place. Definitely let your family and friends help you. Interventions can do wonders. And you have to realize that life is truly beautiful and it is precious, the time we have on this earth that God gives us to be here and to accomplish certain things, and that you shouldn't lose sight of that. That you shouldn't let any particular situation get you down to the point where you are broken and destroyed, and then these psychic energy vampires can come in and harm you, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, or even magically. It's just a terrible, terrible thing, and it breaks my heart to even talk about it. But again, you have to maintain a certain level of emotional balance and control to get through these things, because these can be very, very saddening, daunting things that can happen. And there is a way back from the darkness into the light, but you have to work really hard at it. So go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And Woodman signing off. Have a great and wonderful day. I wish you the blessings of the Most High God, and take care.